welcome to SER334, Operating System Networks. I am going to be your teacher. My name is Ruben Acuna. So unfortunately I don't have a little video. I like having a little video on the side of the screen to show you guys, what I look like. Unfortunately my laptop is acting up, so I'm having to shoot this without video. So basically what this is going to be an overview video to explain what we are going to be doing this semester. So this semester is Fall B 2017. I'm going to touch a little bit on what is the course about, how we're going to, the different components of the course, right? Stuff like homework. And then I'll show you basically how to start the week. So that's a rough outline. So let's get started. So the first thing I have here, I'm going to jump to the next slide. This is kind of our overall view, right? So first of all, our introduction, we'll go through basically the structure of the course. I'll talk about a few things from the syllabus. I'm not going to go through every single item. My expectation, right, is that you guys on your own time go through that kind of, line by line, right, and get all the details from there. And there are just a few things I want to kind of focus in on. Then what happens is I'm going to go to Blackboard and show you guys a little bit about the course layout. Specifically, what I want to do is show you how to start week 1, right? So week 1, there's already going to be some stuff due for you guys. I want to show you, basically how to get started there. So these are the 3 things we're going to be talking about. Let's go ahead and go to the first one. So introduction. So first up, this is about me, right? And I still haven't, after many years, I think I'm now at 2 years of using this template. I haven't filled in a picture of myself. Well, this is my info, right? So you can see here, right? I'm Ruben Acuna. I'm a lecturer here in the software engineering department. I've actually been teaching for 2 years now. Generally, what I'm involved with is, been teaching SER334 for a while. So algorithms, data structures and algorithms. This course you guys are taking is essentially my second primary course. This is SER334, Operating System Network. These are kind of 2 courses, right, that I teach on a regular basis. I generally teach some other courses as well. For example, right now I'm teaching SER401, which is Capstone. I've taught other things as well. So, for example, you guys may have had me for something like SER200 or SER315. But anyways, yeah, so this is SER334, Operating System Networks. My contact information is up here on the slide. So obviously my email address, racuna1@asu.edu. My campus office, right? So if you happen actually to be around, right, you're welcome to drop by my physical office. I also have an online office, right, which is more important for you guys. So this is my Zoom link, right? So zoom.ed.us.my/ASU. Not my ASU, it's my/Acuna. I'm always used to the my ASU logins, so that's what came to mind. But anyways, that there is basically my my URL, right, in order to get to my Zoom meeting room, right? So I'm going to have specific hours I'm there. So initially I'm going to start with this. So this is Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And these are going to be Arizona times, right? So whenever you see times in this course, they're always going to be in terms of Arizona because, well, that's where we're based out of. Do be aware of this, right, in terms of, you guys are in different time zones, right? You maybe have to worry about daylight savings time. Make sure, right, you kind of sync up with what time it is in Arizona if you're trying to come to office hours. Usually I think the easiest thing to do is to Google something like, what is the time in Phoenix, right? Or what is the time in Mesa in order to find out, when is it really. Okay, down at the end, right, is a note about my campus office hours. So if you want, right, to come by, right, you're welcome to. You can basically drop me an email. I do have some regular hours. Sometimes those change due to stuff that's happening. So you can drop me an email, ask me for what those hours are, when I expect to be around, or you can also even make an appointment. I do also take appointments for online meetings as well, although that kind of is dependent on what else is going on, right, where I need to be. For sure, I'm going to be there from 11 to 12 p.m. So that's my contact information. Maybe a little bit more about me for those of you who haven't had a course with me before. So I mentioned already, right, that I teach typically data structures and algorithms as well as operating systems. My actual background, right, way back when, from when I was in school, is in bioinformatics. So my background was basically, so there's this idea, right, is that in biology, right, biology is a domain where they have, tons of interesting problems, but then they have this issue of, all these interesting problems, in order to solve them, right, I need to have access to tons of data, right? I need to have, terabytes and terabytes of all this, you've heard of, the genome sequencing project, right? You have all this data out there. So my actual background is basically in doing data analysis and data management, right? So that's kind of my application domain. The general term you may have heard is bioinformatics, right? So basically that's the idea of applying, techniques in computer science and software engineering to solve problems in biology, right? Because we're in a situation where now all the interesting problems, I can't really do them by hand anymore, right? Somebody can't go and analyze the results of an experiment on paper. Really, right, there's just so much data that we need to invent some sort of an algorithm, right, that can take a look at that data, right, and try to figure out what is going on there. And of course, right, also with that notion of having lots of data is a notion of, now I need to have some way to structure that information or store that information or update that information. So those are the general problems of data management. So that's kind of my specific area. If you're interested in that, if you want to talk about stuff, feel free to come by office hours. Like I can tell you guys more. Anyways, that's my background. It's interesting stuff. All right. So let's see. So I'm the instructor, right? I'm also the course developer for this class, right? So this is SER334. This course was originally taught for the first time in spring of this year, spring B. So that was basically our initial run of the course. It's a pretty recent course shell, right? This is actually kind of a revised course. So initially, and some of you may have heard this before, there was another course called SER334. SER334 was basically a lower division course, right? So it kind of had still the same name, Operating Systems and Networks, but it was a 200 level course. Well, recently we kind of wanted to change up the course a little bit. We wanted to have basically a higher level of rigor. We wanted to do more interesting things. And in order to do more interesting things, we did it to be a higher division class, upper division class, right? So that we can have kind of more appropriate prereqs. So this is relatively new, right? Let's see. So the course basically is I did it in spring. I also did it in summer. You're kind of going to go through the course. It's things are going to be changing, right? So sometimes you take classes, right, and maybe it's the exact same thing as last semester. For this course, right, things will be a little bit different, right? You will see kind of constant revision going on throughout the weeks. Unlike other courses, I'm not going to be making all 7 weeks available at the start of the course. I do go through and actually add things and update things as we move the semester. So I'll be releasing the weeks one at a time as we go through that, kind of the updating for fall 17. All right. Oh, so a note there, a third bullet point for you guys is basically this idea of, the material I use in this course is identical to the material I use in my ground course, right? So I have this label basically as a dual course, right? So you may occasionally see a reference in the class to say, okay, if you're on ground, do this. If you're online, do that. If you ever kind of wonder, what applies to you, right, or you're kind of, confused about something, just drop me an email. I've tried to kind of delineate things as clear as I can. But in general, my goal with this course, right, is basically to use the exact same material between ground and online. And so since there's, some things that are a little bit different, I have to kind of, mark those out. So just be aware of that. Like I said, if you have any questions about that, if you're not sure what to do, let me know. Okay, so this is the course material. Let's see. Next thing to talk about is actually our UGTA. So although we don't have a graduate level TA in this class, we do have Marcy. Marcy is our UGTA. So Marcy was actually my UGTA last semester. She did a really good job. She's going to be active primarily on Piazza. And you can also send her emails as well. So she has done basically a really good job in terms of answering questions. If you guys have something to post on Piazza, Marcy will typically get back pretty quickly, and she's very good at writing a very thorough answer, right? That'll really help you guys out. I think it's an excellent resource, right? Remember that Marcy, right, as a UGTA, basically what that means is that she is she's a student, right? So she is on our side, right? We say is they're pure mentor, right? When we talk about UGTAs. But what it means for you guys is, hey, this is someone who actually is, someone who, is familiar with this course, right? They're actually getting a BS in SE, right, from us. And they kind of know, what's going on with you guys, right? What is it like to go through the courses? What is the workload like? She's going to understand a lot better, right? What is kind of the context of where you guys are going through, right? Unfortunately, right, even though I'm an instructor, right? But I have never had the experience of going through and getting an online BS degree, right? But that is something that Marcy has. So Marcy is very understanding. Again, right, I really recommend, right, you post on Piazza, send her emails. She's very helpful. Okay. So next thing to talk about is basically the course itself. So SER334, what I'm going to do here is read this description. So the text in italics is basically the stuff that you can get if you look at the catalog description of this course. So fundamentals of operating systems, process management, scheduling, and file management. Network technology, topologies, protocols, application control, network and operating system security. So this here is kind of our official description. Unfortunately, it's a little bit old. So there are going to be maybe some, I'll talk about this again. Let me just highlight this. Okay, so here we go. So basically for the course we're doing, right, we're definitely going to hit all this stuff here for operating systems, right? So this is all key stuff for us. Networking basically what will happen is that, this is a lot of material here, right? This is actually a very long list. All the topics on this, description, I could take maybe a month each, right? So probably we're not going to have time to go through all the networking stuff. We will do a little bit of networking at the end of the class, but right now my focus is basically to make sure we do a good job in terms of operating systems, right? I want you guys to get experience, I want you to get experience with low-level programming, and I'll talk about that actually in the next slide a little bit. That'll end up taking a little bit of time. So anyways, focus on operating systems, a little bit of networking at the end. Prerequisites class are 222 and 250. Or maybe you have taken 230. So basically, right, the expectation is that you have some background in data structures and algorithms, right, at the level of 222, either as a kind of a prereq, right, so maybe you took it last semester, maybe an A session, or maybe you're taking it right now, right, so it's actually a co-requisite. You could be taking it at the same time as this class. One thing to be aware, right, is if you're taking this class and 222 at the same time, that's probably going to be a lot of work, right, so 222 and 334 are probably in the, in the top 4 classes that kind of are the highest time investment. So please be aware of that, right? It will take a lot of your time. The other prerequisite, which is a hard prerequisite, is SER334, or some of you may have also taken CSE334. Basically what this is some requirement for you to have been through computer architecture, right? So you should have some idea of basically, how, for example, a bus, right? How things are connected, right? How does data flow from different parts of a computer, right? Some basic idea of a load store architecture. This also has a prerequisite of digital logic, so you should have some background with logic gates, I suppose. We won't really use that material so much, but it's kind of the idea of I'm expecting you to come in and have some knowledge of how do I get from a gate to a system that is loading some value from memory, right? Doing some operation in the register and then storing it back, right? I want you to have kind of that. I'm hesitant to use the word full stack, right? But I want you to have some knowledge, right, of that entire little pathway, right? What is happening beneath, right? What is happening beneath our software? So that's the second requirement. So I'm assuming you guys all have met those. Let's move along. All right, next thing is outcomes. So basically outcomes is the idea of what is it that you should expect at the end of the course, right? So what is it that you should have some additional background, right, in by the time you're finished, right? So I'm going to read these. The reason I'm going to read these to you guys instead of just letting you read them is so that if somebody ever asks you, hey, were you told what the outcomes were? You say yes, right? So that's why I'm going to read them. And kind of the same thing applies to the description on the previous page. I read the catalog description because I want you to be able to say, yeah, I do know what the catalog description is. Right? I was told it at one point. All right, so what do we have here? Number 1, students will understand the principles of operating in network security. Okay, so security stuff we're not going to do all that much of. We may touch on it here and there. Number 2, students will understand the principles underlying computer networks. So we'll do that kind of at the end of the class. Number 3, students will understand the professional responsibilities associated with operating system design and development. This is probably our number 1 focus, right? Is trying to understand operating systems before we get to anything else. Now, one thing to note about these different outcomes here is that they are a little bit vague, right? So we are going to be doing a lot of specific stuff for the operating system side of stuff. There's a lot of specific things I want you guys to know, and you'll see kind of outcomes per week on what I'm expecting you to learn. But understand, right, is a little bit broad, right? So just to be aware of that. All right, so I have one thing down here. I don't want to spend a second to talk about this. Is I have this C programming. So notice my list here just has 3 items on it. I don't have a 4th one, but I have C programming down here at the bottom. So basically, one of my expectations, right, for people to take this class, right, if you take an operating systems class, at the end of the day, one thing that I am expecting right now, outcome of this course, is that you have the ability to do low-level programming in a language like C. I mean, we'll be using C for us, right? It's going to be the most appropriate. But to me, that kind of goes hand in hand with these other things, right? So sometimes, right, people maybe try to teach operating systems and they maybe use language like Java. Well, that some things that are fine, but the issue is that Java kind of holds your hand a lot, right? There's a lot of things that it basically does to keep you safe, right? Run the side of a virtual machine. There's all sorts of kind of there's nice air handling, a nice object system, right? It's OOP language. There's all kinds of nice things that it does, right, in order to make your life easier. Unfortunately, that is a little bit of that comes at a little bit of a cost, right, in terms of performance, in terms of flexibility / power. And so for me, right, if you're doing operating systems, what you really need to do is you need to spend some time doing C program. And so that's actually what we're going to do. We'll actually spend the first kind of first week and a half of this class will actually be spent just on C programming. So some of you, right, may have seen C before. Depending on your background, you may have taken a class like SER334 or CSE334. You may have some background there from those courses. Obviously, those courses aren't a prereq for our class, so we're actually going to take time in order to go over C. So our first order of business, right, in this class is going to be to learn C programming. And once we've learned it, we're actually going to use it kind of throughout our other time spent on operating systems, right? So as we go through these different topics, you guys will be writing programs. So you'll do things like, for example, writing a system utility or writing a kernel module, a loadable kernel module. There's several assignments, right, that are going to be basically given to you with the expectation that you're going to do this, in C, right? And C, what it turns out, even though the syntax maybe looks a little bit like Java, is it'll make you think a little bit harder about what exactly it is that you're doing, right? Because in Java, right, a lot of things are kind of kept kept out of your sight, right? So maybe there's certain errors, right, that Java would, throw a nice compiler warning for, and you'd be like, oh, hey, I need to go fix that. C doesn't do that, right? So C doesn't have, for example, well, something simple would be, imagine you're handling arrays. In Java, right, you can do a dot size, and it'll tell you the size of the array. C doesn't have that, right? C needs you to do kind of the bookkeeping on your own. And there are performance reasons for that. C, you can do things like, try to access an array index that's not there. Well, in Java, you may get an array out of bounds index error. In C, you won't, right? It'll just work, and it'll just read bad data. So C programming, right, will really make sure, right, that you know what it is you're doing, right? It'll make you keep track, right, of all the different kind of things your code is doing, because it's no longer, well, your programming language is no longer going to tell you, oh no, that there might be an issue there, right? C will let you do whatever you tell it to do, right? C is a very low-level language. It has a lot of flexibility. And because of that, right, it's going to be a lot faster than Java, right? So Java runs in a VM, right? There's all kinds of these, intermediate layers, right, between your program code, right, and your actual hardware, right? Well, that comes at a performance penalty. In terms of C programming is basically very close to the middle, right? So that code you write is going to be, very close to what is actually going to be, run on your CPU. So it'll be a lot faster. All right, so that's the fourth thing we're going to do, right? We're going to spend a lot of time on C, or a significant amount of time on C programming. Okay, so next thing here is the course textbook. So this is the book for our class. So this is Operating Systems Concepts. This is 9th edition. You do need the book. So it's listed as required in the from the bookstore, right? So that means it's required. The main reason is that there'll be a couple of sections of this course, right, where we don't have video lectures yet. So in that case, right, you're going to be looking at the textbook. So you do need it to do stuff. You may be able to use the 8th edition as well. You should basically keep track of what does the index look like, and make sure that the topics listed there are the topics that are listed in your course. But you should find a way basically to make the 8th edition line up with the 9th edition if you want to try using it. Probably you should also, if you try to go that route, also pay kind of close attention to the slides and what is the material covered in slides versus what is the material covered in your book. If you want, you can purchase the e-textbook of this as well, right? So either a paper copy or a electronic copy. I am planning to let you guys use the textbook on the exam. I'll let you use the paper edition for sure. The electronic edition, you can use it, but what will happen is you need to show me basically the watermark to show where it is you purchased it from, right? So you need to show something like, oh, you're in Kindle, right? And it's locked to that account, right? If you're in the Kindle software. So I need to see something about that. Okay, so there's a textbook. Make sure you have a copy. You can maybe, if you haven't gotten it yet, right, you can maybe wait a couple of days because the first kind of units of this class are in C programming, and so they're not going to actually be drawing anything from here. They'll be kind of standalone stuff instead. Okay, next up is basically grading. So there are 4 components to your grade. So the first thing is assignments. So every week you guys are going to be getting assignments. Assignments, generally they'll have 2 pieces, short answer and programming. Let's see, exercise. I'll talk about these actually a little bit more in depth in a couple of slides, but just to give you an overview first, right? So assignments, every week, right? Typically you'll have 2 assignments every week because it's a 7.5-week class. That's going to be worth 40% of your grade. Then you'll have exercises. Again, you'll have exercises typically twice a week. That'll be 10% of your grade. Then we have a midterm and a final. Both those are worth 25%. They'll be conducted with RP Now. So those are kind of be your heavyweight component of your grade, right? That's a lot of points there. All right. So that's kind of our overview for where all your points are, right, in terms of your final grade, right? So these 4 different elements. Okay. So next thing I need to talk about that's kind of a little bit doom and gloom, but I do need to go into it, is basically the code of conduct, right? And in general, collaboration. So basically, right, the rule is this. Right, my expectation is that when you submit work to us, right, and you can just picture it for a second. Okay, you're going to Blackboard, right? You're submitting a homework to us, right? It pops up on our end with your name on it. What that means, right, when we get that, is that you are saying that this is my work, right? This indicates my kind of unique, my knowledge, my skill, right? This is what I came up with. So when we give you a grade for a class, right, we're supposed to be giving you a grade based on your work, right? So you submit to us your homework, right, your exam. We look at it and say, okay, this is the best what they offered us, right, and we grade it, right, and hopefully get a good grade, and that's what shows up, right, in Blackboard. Semester comes to a close, right, and so eventually we use all stuff to basically compute a value, right, compute a letter grade that goes in your transcript, right, that shows you as an individual how well did you understand this material, right? How did you go through this class with? So that's, typically what happens, right? The stuff that you submit to us ultimately turns into a letter grade that shows on a transcript that becomes your BS degree at the end of your 4 years. So part of this, right, is that degree, right, that grade is supposed to be specific to you and what you know. Now, where there's an issue, right, and all of this stuff, right, and cooperation, co-talk, is when somebody, right, basically submits work to us, right, that says, okay, please assess this to give me my final grade, to give me my degree, and that work isn't actually their work, right? So that is basically misrepresentation. When somebody submits something that maybe came from either a friend, right, or a website, or a book, right, that's not their work, and so we can't, give you a grade based on that. It's not your work, right? Your answer all of a sudden doesn't represent your individual understanding, right? It doesn't represent your individual skill. Rather, it is somebody else's, knowledge and skills, right? That is no longer your work, right? So we cannot give you a grade for that. And so basically, right, that is an issue of that I see, right, as somebody trying to to misrepresent work, right, to claim that somebody else's answer that was produced for something else, right, is their work, and they're asking us to give them a grade for that. Okay, and that's not okay. Okay, so as a rule, right, you should never be submitting somebody else's work as your own, right? Doesn't matter if it's a textbook, doesn't matter if it's something you Googled, right, something from Stack Overflow, something from a friend, right? You do not ever submit somebody else's work as your own, right? And when you click that submit button in Blackboard, right, whatever is in there, right, for your answers and your homework on your exam, that is something, right, that you are basically telling us, this is mine. Please evaluate it. Please give me the grade. Please give me the degree at the end of the 4 years, right? So anything that you give to us, right, that's going to be assessed for that, these rules are kind of in effect, right? You must not misrepresent work. Okay. So that's kind of the number one thing, right, is no misrepresentation. If you haven't been through kind of the ASU academic integrity policy, please go through that, right? I do enforce it. Right, we're going to go look through every homework, right? If I see issues with people turning in, the same answers, right? There's, I'm going to call you in and we're going to have a discussion, right? Okay, a couple of additional notes about this stuff. First of all, sometimes, right, people like to use resources like Stack Overflow. And sometimes people even try to make postings on Stack Overflow. Don't do that, okay? So that, right, basically going to a third party, you're asking, right, for somebody else to do your work for you. Okay, that's not okay. If you have questions about stuff, come and talk to us, right? Come and talk to me, come and talk to Marcy, right? We can help you through stuff, right? We actually, basically, right, it's our course, right? Somebody online isn't going to know this stuff as well as we do. And when we help you, right, we're going to actually go through and make sure that we, help you properly, right? We kind of push you in the right direction. We don't just give you the answer, which is usually what happens when you make a post online. And when somebody just gives you the answer while you're thinking, oh, hey, that's how I do it, and you go and submit that, well, all of a sudden you've used somebody else's idea, and that's an issue of misrepresentation, right? There's work that you're asking us to put a grade on that isn't actually your work. Okay, so that is kind of a overall FYI, right? Is do not go posting anything online, right? If you have questions, right, we have a Piazza. We may end up having pitch as well. Come and talk to us. Okay. Let's see. Other note here. So sometimes, right, you may have something where it's like, well, you're just trying to figure out this one little detail, right? There's something you can't quite figure out the syntax in C to do this one little operation, so you do end up searching for it. You maybe see, a couple lines of code that really help you out, and you like to use them. So in that case, right, you can just take, a couple lines of code from online, but the caveat is, right, that you must source it, right? So you need to have some sort of citation on there to say, okay, hey, I got this from this person on Stack Overflow, right? And so give us their name, right, their handle, give us the URL to show where you got it from, right? So once you do that, right, once you have a citation and say, hey, these couple of lines, and they should be, clearly separated, right? As long as you have that clearly indicated, all of a sudden it's no longer an issue of misrepresentation, right? So that is okay, right? If you just use a couple lines from somewhere else, but you must cite it. Without a citation, it's an issue, right? It's an academic integrity issue. So, I guess to expound on that a little bit, one thing to be aware of, right, is that you can't have your entire assignment, right, your entire homework, just little bits of code that are cited from somebody else, right? In that case, right, what happens is that, oh, hey, I can see that your stuff is cited, but your work that you're turning in doesn't actually represent your own skills, right? Because all of a sudden you're just using somebody else's resources. And so if you're just using somebody else's resources, I can't really give you, credit for that, right? It's somebody else's. So although it's not going to be an academic integrity issue, basically what happens is I'm going to give you something like a 0 on the assignment, right? If I see that there's 0 of your original code there, you get a 0 for that assignment, right? So in general, right, the expectation there is that when you turn in something like that, something to us, right, Maybe a couple lines of your source code can be, referenced from online. You'll have them properly cited, and then we're fine, right? But if all of a sudden, a significant part of your homework, right, starts looking like somebody else's work, right, even if it is cited, well, then I just can't tell what it is that you know, and so I can't give you a grade for that stuff, right? I can just give you a 0. So make sure, right, that if you do use a few lines of code from outside, right, that it doesn't eclipse the work that you've done, right? So keep that in mind. All right, so make sure you go through all this stuff, right, that's defined here, it's defined on the AC website, that's also defined in the syllabus. Okay, related note, course material license. This is just a note for you guys. Basically, the material in this course, right, everything you see in Blackboard is mine, okay? So it's not for you, it's not yours, right? So sometimes people, go into Blackboard and think, oh, hey, I can, take this, I can post it online, I can send it to my friends. No, you may not, okay? So the material in this course, right, is specific to you guys, right? So you guys are taking this class here in Fall B. So you're, can use this stuff for your own personal use, but don't go, upload it to, some external website. Don't go, posting parts of anything, whether it's slides, whether it's exercises, whether it's assignments. Don't post anything anywhere, right? Basically, all this stuff is my work, right? So this is kind of my IP, right? It's not yours to share. So I know it sounds a little bit harsh, but that's the way it is, right? This is my material. All right, so let's go to a little bit lighter stuff. So real quick, I want to talk about homework expectations, and the exercise expectations. So I already mentioned, right, homework's going to have 2 pieces. It's going to be short answer and then programming. Short answer is going to be all be written. Maybe there's occasionally some pseudocode for you to do, but it's not going to be, programs to write, right? Short answer is basically for you to think about stuff a little bit. Programming, not every unit of content we go through will have programming. So the content of this course is actually divided into units, and we have about 12 units this semester. We might have a little bit more depending on how our schedule looks. But every unit's going to have a short answer. About half of the units will have a programming assignment with them. So as you kind of go through the stuff, right, be aware of some key things here, right? So I have some bullet points. Be aware, right, that when you submit stuff to us, we are going to read it. So please don't put anything in your short answer, your programming, that you don't want us to read, because we will go through everything. See number 2 there, right? If we give you feedback, you're expected to use it, right? So if we type out, a nice long comment to you that says, okay, you should do this and this and this because, it does this better, you should be paying attention to that, right? Don't just kind of, ignore it, right? It's actually there for you to get better at writing code and solving these kind of low-level problems. Third point there, right? So documentation is nice. It'll be required on some assignments, it won't be required on others. Documentation, right, the main thing is it should actually be documentation. So don't document things that are trivial, right? Don't put a comment above your main and say, okay, this is the entry point. Use documentation to explain things that aren't obvious, right? Things that maybe are, your design justification for something, or, what is it that this variable does because it's not clear from the name, right? Use it where it's valuable, right? Don't just, put it all over the place for, the sake of just having documentation. Okay, third point there, so jumping back down to the main list. Homework is going to be due at midnight, right? This is AZ, so that's 11:59. And that's 11:59, 00, right? So that's kind of 1 minute before midnight. Late submissions are not accepted, and when I mean they're not accepted, I mean they're actually not accepted. So if you submit something at 11:59:01, that's late, so it's not going to be accepted. The exceptions, right, to that are basically if you have something like a documented, medical emergency or something similar, right, that clearly, right, would have prevented you from turning something in on time. Typically, right, that's, well, the reason I just gave is the main one, right? So if you have some sort of medical emergency, also, right, sometimes people have stuff with, people are in the military, right? There's some stuff that comes up for them, right? That's, going to be another time where I accept late submissions. But for other things, no, right? So if, you had to stay too late at work, honestly, right, that's not grounds for late submission, right? That's something you should have worked on before. In general, right, from my point of view, no one should ever be anywhere close to that due date for the homework, right? So if your homework is due at midnight on Sunday, it should probably be done on like Saturday, right? There's no reason for you to be working at that last minute, right? The last minute is there, I suppose if you really need it, but there's no reason for you to be, submitting stuff at the last minute for every single assignment, right? You should be well ahead of that deadline. You will be getting, right, at least a full week, right, to work on all your homework. So, do it in advance, right? Don't wait till that last day, that last 2 days. Let's see, questions about the homework, right? Basically submit an email. I'll make a post on Blackboard to tell you guys when stuff is done, right? When it's ready, when it's been graded, and when you can see what we have for you. Usually in that announcement on Blackboard, I'll leave a little note that says, okay, if you have questions about your grade, please get it to us by this date, right? So that'll be on Blackboard whenever we release grades to you guys. So you can, if you have questions, you have to send you'll plan to send your inquiries by that specific time that we define. All right, so exercise expectations. So exercises are going to be, well, some of you, right, that have been through 222 with me. I think there are a couple, and other instructors may do it differently. Basically, what I like to have in my course is this idea of an exercise. So an exercise is going to look a little bit like a short answer assignment, but it'll be a lot simpler. And it's something that basically, once you submit it, you'll instantly see the answers. So the idea is this. A lot of times in a course, right, you'll have something like a homework assignment, but that homework assignment has a huge grade, and so if you go to do it, well, it has a heavy weight, I should say. You go to do it, right, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try this stuff out. You submit it, right, and a few days later you get your grade back. But the thing is that basically what happens is that the first time you've seen a concept is when it's, has a huge weight on it, right? That the homework typically in a course, right, is worth a considerable amount of your grade, right? And the first time you see a concept or try to plan a concept happens to be on that highly weighted homework. Well, sometimes that's a little bit annoying, right? Because like, well, I wish I had something to practice on before I got to that. Well, that's what exercises are, right? So exercises are a lot more, lightweight in terms of the grade. The questions are typically a little bit simpler, and so they're basically an opportunity for you to practice material as we go through it, right? So you go through and read the chapter or watch the videos for a unit. Well, then go and work on the exercise, right? Do your best, submit it, and then you'll see the answers immediately, right? So unlike the homework, we have to wait, basically for us to grade it and then to release solutions. The solutions to the exercises will pop up the instant you're done, right? So exercises also, the grading is going to be a little bit different. So we are kind of lenient. Basically what we grade on is completion/effort, right? So if your answer is 90% correct, we're going to give you the points for it. It's only when your answer looks something like, oh, you weren't paying attention in video, right? You weren't paying attention to reading, you didn't read the question prompt right, or you gave something that's completely off. That's when you're going to lose points. But if you're kind of nearly there, right, and we can see that you made a good effort going through the material, then we'll typically give you either the full grade or the full points for that exercise, right, or pretty close to it, right? So we're trying to grade it more on completion/effort. Okay, one thing that people kind of get stuck with here or have an issue with is the amount of time they spend on exercises. So assuming you've gone through if you've gone through the material, right, you've read the chapter, you've gone through the videos, you should take probably no more than half an hour to do an exercise, okay? And our exercises aren't supposed to be something that takes you 5 or 6 hours to go through, right? You should be able to basically sit down and crunch it out and say half an hour. So don't spend too much of your time there, right? Don't overthink it is what I'm saying, because sometimes people will turn this into, all of a sudden they see the exercise being, maybe there's like a research question, they got to go Google this stuff. No, right? All the exercises are stuff you can do immediately after, right, you've read through or watched the videos. So don't overthink them. All right, so last thing here, right, Blackboard starting week 1. So basically here, right, you have Blackboard. It'll pop up for you guys in a little bit. Right on my end, I haven't made the Blackboard shell available yet. So let's jump over to that. And let me show you the first week just really quick. Okay, so here we are over in Blackboard. And you can see here, right, that I have basically the announcements you guys will see in a little bit. Let's say you want to get started with this course. So typically, right, you should read the announcement here with all this good stuff here for you guys to read about. There's obviously like the welcome to start here page. You guys have probably seen this before. And in the end, right, what you'll end up going to is this over here, week 1, right, October 9 through 15. So this is our material for this particular week. So this week, right, we're going to be talking about C programming, right, introduction to C programming. The layout of these weeks is all going to be the same. So first thing you see is basically the objectives, right? What is it that you're going to get out of this week, right? So there's all the stuff you're going to be learning about for C. Then right, there's some optional stuff over here. So the optional stuff is because I'm saying, we're actually not going to do the first chapter in the textbook this week. That's kind of optional reading for you if you want to review stuff from previous courses. Let's see. So introduction, right? Unit 0, right? We have the courses chunked into units, right? About 12 of them. First one's called introduction. Second one's called C programming 1. All right. So looking at the week, what do we have after objectives? We have material assignment. So material assignment, right? Basically, this is going to tell you, all the stuff to go through, right, in order to learn what it is the material is for this week, right? So unit 0, watch this video, right? Watch videos for unit 0, 0.1, introduction to SER334, right? So watch this, read the course syllabus, optionally, right, review the slides, optionally read the first chapter. Then you can see how we have our first major unit here. So unit 1, this is C programming. And so here, right, basically this is a list of all the videos, right, that are available, right? So this has kind of full video coverage for this unit. So the expectation is, right, that you're going to go through and watch all of these. And there will be a link, I'll scroll down to you and I'll show you guys exactly where to get at those. So those are the videos, right? You should review the slides afterwards, and then optionally right here's a couple of references for some more material you can look at. Then we have homework summary. So this is the next item in every week, and this is going to tell you what's going to be due. So due stuff will always be on Sunday. So Sunday, exercise 0 is due, exercise 1 is due, and then the first homework is due. And here, right, the homework has 2 parts, both a short answer and a programming. Next up, right, we have a link to Blackboard. We have a link to Piazza, right? So if you want to have your questions answered by me or Marcy, you can come over here. You should have already received an invite from me in order to access that. Otherwise, you can self-register from taking this link. At the bottom of this page, basically what we have is all the links to the material for this week. So here you can see we have, Unit 0, introduction video, Unit 0 slides, exercise video slides. Right, so this is these top 3 are Unit 0, bottom 4 are Unit 1. So if I just click on these, right, you can see maybe I open up videos. And it's not going to be quite up to date because I'm shooting this new one right now as we speak, right? So this is Summer B, right? You can see I haven't edited in this because I can't, right? I'm recording it right now. But anyways, right, this is the video for this section. If I go over, for example, a video for C programming, I can open this up and I have all the videos for this stuff here. Close that. See exercise, right? Slides. So if you go, for example, let's do slides first, right? There's a tab here. Actually, there are these 4 indices, right? Slides, videos, exercises, homework, right? This is a different way to get to the material in the course. The weeks will take you basically to subsets of these pages, right? Where there's specific stuff we care about. But if you want to see, all the different things that are available, you can go and open that, right? So here you can see the slides for Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unit 0 I haven't posted yet because, well, I just did those. All right. So let's close that back out. So exercises. So this is actually going to be kind of the first thing you do for this week. So the unit 0, right, which is our introduction unit, has an exercise associated with it. It's a prereq check. So what that means is basically I'm giving you guys an exercise to assess what is it you know, right? So what is it you remember from SER 250, right, and SER 200/222, right? So that's going to be an exercise that I give to you guys, right? You have it here under the exercise 0 link, and no matter what you put, I'm going to give you full credit, right? The point is I just want to see where you guys are at. Don't use any outside references, right? I just want to see what is it you know, right? I'll automatically give you full credit for doing this exercise. So that's the first thing to do, right? And that's here under homework summary. Next thing, right, is basically you can say, okay, I'm done with Unit 1, right? I've watched this video already. I do the exercise, right? I've read the course syllabus. I can move on to Unit 1. So Unit 1, right, I'll watch all those videos. And then you can kind of say, okay, I've watched the videos. I'll jump down to the exercise, right? So I'll do the exercise first. Excuse me, this one over here. C programming exercise, do this one first, right? Then once I'm done with the exercise, I'll jump down to homework, right, and do the homework. So there's kind of this flow, right? You start with the material, right? So videos or readings. Go through that. Then if you want to, right, you can review the slides, then go do the exercise, and then go do the homework, right? So you'll repeat that cycle over and over again. All right, so that's all I got for you guys right now. I look forward to this semester, and I think, right, you guys will learn a lot. I look forward to working with all of you. So yeah, hopefully I hear from you guys over email. I see you in office hours. Yeah, so that's all I got. See you guys later on.